Hello again, folks. The US-Australia alliance is one of the world's oldest. We treasure it. Quite frankly, we need it. We're so close that often we like to mirror what goes on in the US, the latest example being a political one. Just as the US lurched to the left after Donald Trump was defeated 2 years ago, Australia too just lurched to the left, possibly in a bigger way. For our American audience, the Conservatives had been in charge here for the past 9 years, over 3 terms. But on the weekend, got kicked out of office by the Labor Party. The new Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is a good bloke with a great story, who grew up in council housing with a single mum on a disability pension. He became a student activist who once boasted of fighting Tories. During his time as opposition leader, Albanese was forced to move to the centre. But his win over the weekend was thanks in part to Greens party preferences and also wins the Greens picked up, which now gives them the balance of power in the Senate. This and a big swing to independence was seen as a rebuke by climate-conscious voters who think the current parties aren't doing enough. To recap some Greens policies, it wants net zero by 2035, a ban on the construction of oil, gas and coal infrastructure, wants to phase out mining, burning and the export of thermal coal by 2030. The last time Labor was in power in Australia, it struck deals with the Greens and has been linked to that ever since. But the incoming Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, assured me that wouldn't happen. So it looks as though the Greens will at least be on track to hold the balance of power in the Senate. So will you now need to strengthen Labor's climate policies and go harder than 43%?
Look, I think our climate policies are ambitious as they stand. And clearly there's an appetite in the Australian community for responsible action on climate change so that we can get that cleaner and cheaper energy into the system and boost investment and create jobs, particularly in the regions.
Anthony Albanese's first task as Prime Minister was to head to Japan for the Quad. There, he spoke to the US President about many things, including AUKUS, submarines and China in the Pacific. Here's the Greens on defence. It wants to abolish the Australian Border Force, slash defence spending. It also believes China poses no threat to Australia and wants to scrap agreements, including AUKUS, and all that comes with it. Labor has a different position on all of those policies. It says it won't do deals, and in the lower house it may not have to because Labor should govern with a majority. But here's the kicker. In the Senate, the Greens, as I mentioned, hold the balance of power with their largest ever presence in the upper house, and so could determine Labor's policy agenda. Labor would have to turn to the Greens to pass legislation if it doesn't get coalition support. It's a fascinating dilemma if the coalition doesn't help. Greens looks like they're going to hold the balance of power in the Senate. If they don't budge, James, on climate policy, would the moderate Liberal senators cross the floor and just back Labor?
I don't know whether they will or not. And again, like I was saying before, Peter, I think we have to be very careful post-election. There'll be some people out there who say we should scrap the climate policy we established in the last 3 years. There'll be others who say we should go much further than it. I think the worst thing for the Liberal Party would be to engage, and the National Party, to engage in another round of climate wars.
The coalition is about to spend some time in the wilderness, but its likely new leader and former Defence Minister Peter Dutton will be hoping it's not that long if the party can work out exactly where it stands after such a bruising defeat. To support this channel, please like, share and subscribe below. I'll see you next week.